Hi, welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Lily Newman, the host, and along with my co-host Susan Salomone, Executive Director of Drug Crisis in our backyard.
In our backyard.
I'm sorry, it's one of those days. Viewpoint. We started Viewpoint because everyone has stuff, and we don't know what resources are in our community, and people to help us, and questions that need to be answered. So we invite people that are out there in the field, different fields, to give people the answers that they need. And today we have a guest, Dylan Salomone. And if the name sounds familiar, that's because this is Susan Salomone's son. And
Welcome, Dylan.
And he is a Mercy volunteer. So he's going to tell us about what Mercy volunteering is. It's all yours. What is it?
All right. So Mercy Volunteer Corps is a program that is set up with the Sisters of Mercy, right, which is under the Catholic Church. So lay people, usually people in their 20s, after they graduate college, will choose a year to volunteer in impoverished communities. So they think they had like 50 volunteers this year, Mercy volunteers in the States, and then they have one site that's in Georgetown, Guyana, which is where I was,
Right.
and there are 4 of us there. They've been working for a long time, Mercy Volunteer Corps.
And so there's only one outside of the United States, which was in Guyana.
Correct, yeah, the rest are domestic.
And what'd you do?
What did I do?
What'd you
I taught at, okay, so the deal with Mercy Volunteers is the sisters are willing to support us in terms of food, housing, and a small personal stipend as we basically give them free labor. So I worked as a teacher at Mercy Wings Vocational School, it's called. I taught a life skills program called Adolescent Development Program. Yeah, and then math. In my second year, I taught math. So the school is for kids anywhere from like 15 to like 21 who dropped out of high school or got kicked out. They're having issues and they need to like get their stuff together because they're not doing anything, and you know.
So what do they learn? Do they learn a trade? Do they learn high school diploma?
Right. So there's carpentry or general construction, cosmetology, childcare, and catering. Those are the 4 vocational skills. And then with those are compulsory courses like math, English, and ADP, like I said.
And then how long is it?
A year, just 1 year, yeah, from September to July.
And they finish, they get a high school diploma or
No.
equivalent? No.
They get a certificate from Mercy Wings that is basically it's like a basic certification in that skill.
Okay.
So to be very honest, probably most of them, if they're serious, they're going to go to a higher level vocational school. Some will choose to go back to school.
Got it.
Mercy Wings is kind of advocated as a second chance.
Okay.
You know, it's not the final stop.
Got
So
it.
now that you have kids as young as 15 in that school that go for 1 year and then either go on to there's a university.
There's the
there,
University
right?
of Guyana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that a regular university, a regular college?
Yeah, I'm not sure of its accreditation. I've heard Guyanese compare it to a community college in the States.
Okay.
right.
But it is a real, legitimate university. They just got a master's program in social work.
Oh, really?
Maybe I'll go there and get my master's degree.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sisters of Mercy, here I come.
So I know about your living arrangements, but why don't you tell Lily what the living arrangements were like?
Okay, so one of the pillars, I committed to 4 things. Compassionate service, simple living, spirituality, and community. So I lived in community. Community is, there were 4 of us, 3 girls and me. So that was wild.
Okay.
Especially
That's
since
right.
you came from a family of 4
4
boys.
boys.
Yeah, with no girls. You have
Right.
to go out to like 3rd cousins.
Yeah,
Girls.
really,
In our
really.
generation.
All
That's
girls.
craziness.
All boys.
So I learned a
All boys.
lot. And community is very it's very strange. It's not what normal people I think are used to. It's you're committing, when you go into community, you're committing to be vulnerable, they say, to share sides of yourself, ugly sides of yourself, good sides of yourself, and really allow the people with you to travel your journey towards self-discovery
Okay.
with you. So there's a lot of like talking things out. So we would have Thursdays would be our spirituality night. We would usually pick one of the pillars to do a focus on, talk about it, maybe bring in some content, reflect, and then Sundays we had community discussion where it's like, let's air out the grievances. You know, whatever wasn't talked about organically, now we're going to have a forum to talk about it because it needs to be talked about.
So does that mean anything that went on during the week while you're in Guyana, or your own personal stuff? Because it almost sounds like a TC kind of thing where you sit in a community and you talk about your stuff, the ugly stuff,
Yeah.
to try and work through it.
Part of it is that. A lot of it is that. And sometimes, a lot of times you'll bring that to community. The community meetings they're a chance to do that, but they're also a chance to confront people, other community mates, about things that, a lot of these people that go into these programs are conflict averse. Because they are avoidant,
Oh, okay.
Conflict avoidant.
Okay.
And so they'll avoid conflict. I was like that too. And then you're just sort of thrown into community, and that doesn't work that way there.
So you might, on the Sunday meetings, you might say to someone, this is not working because, and give a reason. Give us an example.
All right. So, for example, Andrea, one of the community mates, was feeling excluded from the community, not feeling like connections were being made there. And she brought it up and saying, I'm not feeling part of this. There's a word to say, I feel out, quote unquote. And we then as community mates have to listen, reflect, what's my role in this? Like, how am I contributing? So we had to change up dynamics. We found that me and another community mate were spending a lot of time together, so let's break up that dynamic and allow other things to flourish.
Look at that.
So don't you think that would be a great model for a family?
Absolutely.
I think it's a great model
to
for a
come
family.
together and say, this is how I feel, or this is right, this is how I feel. And then the person has to reflect and then do something about it so they don't continue to feel that way, or gives them the opportunity to be part of whatever she said she wasn't part of.
Right.
Yeah. So when he talks about community, he's talking just about these 4 people.
Right. Because
Okay.
that's what's hard for me, because community, I thought you meant the entire
Yes, a common.
Yeah.
Mercy people in Guyana.
Yeah. So, so they did not live with the nuns.
Got it.
Okay, they
You
had
live
their own
Oh,
separately.
yeah, we
apartment.
lived on our own.
Yeah, separately.
Pay the bills, place flooded, had to figure it out. Very much independent living.
So what was it like living in Guyana? Because I got my own picture.
We lived in a nicer area. How to describe it?
Regular housing,
It was a standalone house. Everything's barred in.
windows and stuff.
Windows, and you have a front gate that you have a lock to. And then you go and you open up. It's called the grill, which is like a metal cage that you unlock with a padlock, and then you open, and there's the door, right? Because crime is pretty serious.
I was going to say, a lot of crime?
Yeah, definitely. So, in the house, some people have hot water. Not us. Not many people, I think.
You didn't have hot water.
No.
Cold water.
It was cold
Everything.
water. It gets hot there, though, so sometimes you get lucky and it
Pipes
gets...
could heat up.
Right.
Yeah. You might get that much hot water.
There's water cuts. There's power cuts. They're just, is what it is. Unfortunate.
It is though like a city. He
yeah.
wasn't in the country.
Right.
He was in an area in
Like
Georgetown,
a
right?
metropolitan area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
not
was
no high buildings
Right,
around,
right.
no skyscrapers, but it wasn't like being
Huts.
out in the country,
Right.
in a shack.
Right.
Not like in the bush, they call it.
Right.
The bush, exactly.
The bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a real city, and we would take the bus. There were these little mini buses. They were crazy. They were nuts. They were like vans. They were
Okay.
Toyota vans that you hailed, and you'd hop on the bus. It was like 60 Guyanese dollars, which is like about a little more than 25 cents.
Wow.
That's a big difference.
You
When
ride
you
around.
say it.
Yeah, it's wild. And they drive pretty recklessly. Like on the opposite side of the road, they
Right.
ignore street signs and street lights. But it's quite an experience as a foreigner. It's like it's like a roller coaster every
Right.
time I have to go somewhere.
Is that the only way to get around? Unless you have a car or a moped or a bicycle or something.
So they do
right?
have taxis. Taxis are priced pretty competitively because
Got
the
it.
buses are so ubiquitous. But then my second year, I rode a bicycle to work,
Okay.
which is great. And that was an experience unto itself.
Why?
Because the traffic patterns are
Oh.
so wild and hectic.
Got it.
And then you're riding a bike with that, so it's pretty fun, you know?
So, and do you speak Guyanese?
Guyanese speak English.
Okay.
They speak...
I feel like I'm telling someone went to the moon. They speak Guyanese.
They speak, but it would be called Creoles.
Really?
Because it's a dialect of English.
Got it. Give me an example.
So, something you might say is, Wagwan nebai. What's going on there, boy? That's what it would be. But it's just like, they say bye a lot, or like de, like one de.
Meaning?
What's happening there?
Oh,
Yeah. I love Creoles.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like shortened English. Like it sounds like
That
a
doesn't sound
shorthand.
like English.
The syntax gets, well, I could say other things that would sound more, I was picking the more, unique
Traditional?
things.
Oh.
More like unique things that would sound different. But you can, they do cut off, I noticed, the last consonant in words, and they do like shorten it, they mix up the syntax, and they don't conjugate verbs all the time. So like, instead of say, I went, you would say I done go.
Okay, that's English.
What does that mean?
I
What do you
went.
say? I went.
Instead of saying I went, is I done go.
I done go. I did go.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't go.
I done go.
Right, exactly.
I done go. I done go to work.
Right. I done go walk.
I done. So that means you did walk.
No, well,
You
I said
went.
work. I
Work,
done go walk.
Work.
I done work. Give me another example. I like this. I'm sorry.
You want the past tense thing again?
I don't care. Give me something. Because I want to hear the English and how they take the English and make it into their own language.
Okay. So, if you don't know something, you say me no. Me no bada. I don't know about that.
Oh, okay. So me no.
Me no bada.
No, but okay. It's almost like pig Latin.
Yeah. it's like shortened and just different.
Right.
Definitely different. So when we went
Okay.
to visit
I was going to
him.
ask, as a mother, how was it when you went to visit your child?
Well, Dylan spent 2 years there. Okay, so he decided he went the first year, and then he decided to stay a second year, which was his choice. We went to visit him in January, and he took us on the vans, on these buses. I will tell you, you have never seen anything like it. The guy was laying on his horn,
Wow.
laying on it. And the
Yeah.
music's blasting like
Wow.
so loud, and they just they cut everybody off,
Right,
and they just
right.
that's how they drive. It was really frightening.
Yeah, it can be frightening. You just gotta kind of trust in the driver.
Right.
And even it's like I used to rationalize it. Like me worrying about it isn't gonna
Make
protect me.
Right.
So might
Right.
as well just.
Now, what prepared you school-wise to go and do this?
Well, I studied at Boston College, which is Jesuit.
Okay.
Jesuits are under the Catholic Church as well. They're kind of like a vanguard towards progressivism and social justice. So I began to get exposed to social justice, poverty, simple living, all these, solidarity, walking with the poor, that kind of thing. Doing programs, so I went to Appalachia, Guatemala, Mexico, Brazil.
Wow.
On like short stints, doing service and immersion. And then I spent 4 months in Nepal studying Buddhism at a monastery. And all of those experiences, a lot of them had to do with community building. So that prepared me for the aspect of community somewhat, and it sort of reoriented my values to be in line with yes, I want simplicity. Yes, I want to understand what it means to be poor. I want to and then a step further then is I want to understand a different culture and be able to step outside of American culture and look in and what it actually means from an outside perspective.
And what did you find?
I found a lot. In terms of Americans, I mean, I would say that it's interesting that we are privileged just for the sake of our nationality, which we didn't choose. If I were to adopt any of the Guyanese children, they would be better off because they're American, not because of resources that we
Right.
have.
Right.
Even if I just left them somewhere,
Right.
the social services are in such that if you're an American citizen, you're going to be
right.
better off. So that's somewhat disturbing. It's good for us,
Right.
but from when you look at it, it's like, well, I didn't do anything to earn this.
Right.
Is just
You're right.
So when you look at it from a worldview, it seems prejudiced.
It's just it's unequal, and I don't think purposefully, but it is unequal. So that's hard to know when you go meet those people. My students, I have students who are trafficked. I have students who are sexually abused, a lot of different things, and nothing's happening for them.
Right. But if they were adopted by an American, things would automatically change just because of that. It's like white privilege, which people don't believe there is, but there's white privilege.
Right. It is.
Just by being white, there's certain things that come with it that don't go with anything else.
And those people may not even be aware of it. Americans
absolutely.
aren't aware of it.
That's
just as
right.
white people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there were other things about, actually Nepal was quite an experience when he was in Nepal because they didn't have toilets.
Okay.
Tell a little bit about Nepal.
So they didn't have Western toilets. They had
Okay.
squatties, they're called. Just like a ceramic hole where you put your feet on the sides and you squat and use the...
Like an outhouse.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
But you didn't have a cover?
Right, no, there was. That's the thing. It was a bathroom, so to speak. It's just it wasn't a Western toilet. And no, they don't use toilet paper.
That I find somewhat disturbing.
See, it's actually, I did too. It's actually much cleaner.
Is it?
Because you're washing it. See, it's funny because a lot of Nepalis, or I just call them Easterners, who do that, will be like, well, what is it? They're wiping with a rag. They're putting their hand in a rag and wiping their butt. It's like, what?
All right, wait a second. I'm having a little... So how is it cleaner? Because you wash your hands after?
Right, exactly.
All right. I'm going to leave that one
Yeah,
alone.
try it. Don't knock it till you try it.
Listen, I don't know about... When I go to
I didn't
Nepal...
know that. What else? There was a lot about
That's
the
great.
bugs in Nepal, and
Well, yeah.
he lives with a host family in Nepal. So he had a mother, father,
And two brothers.
and two brothers there.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you've done this. It really has. I give you a lot of credit to go and explore and do.
Yeah, I reached a point where I realized I was kind of stagnating. I wasn't finding what I was looking for. So I just sort of went on a 6-month journey where I went from Brazil to Mexico to Nepal, trying to ask big questions and figure things out. And I was very, very naive back then. I think it was a necessary journey, but it was very naive. I got thrown into Nepal and was just like...
Naive about what?
How the world works, where I was coming from, what Buddhism is, what poverty looks like.
Because it looks different over there than it does here.
Right. And underdevelopment shouldn't be mixed up with poverty. They shouldn't be confused, right?
Explain what you mean.
Underdevelopment meaning, so there are a lot of indigenous communities in Guyana. Now, we would call them, quote unquote, underdeveloped, which the term itself is kind of a joke, but underdeveloped, they don't have running water. That's not to say they're impoverished in the sense that they feel mired in their own poverty. They may like that existence. They may like that, So there's a difference there that I learned to respect when I went to Nepal and I saw no hot water, transportation, like just things that classify an underdeveloped country.
Right.
But not all of it was bad. Some of it was actually, I found, more enjoyable. And then it becomes a dialogue as opposed to let me insert my vision of what the world is onto you.
Got it. So it sounds like it's almost accepting where you are, who you are, and what's around you, and being okay with it in a good way, not just saying, well, I'm going to accept this because I can't do anything else, but this is who I am, and this is how I live, and I'm okay. This is my life.
Yeah.
And my family and my friends, so I'm not missing anything. Then we come along and say that you're impoverished and you're poor because you're missing A, B, C, and D.
You're missing a television.
Right, and they don't see it.
Yeah.
Or the little paper. Right.
But how about even in Guyana, like the technology? You didn't have access to much technology.
Well, so people could get Wi-Fi, can have routers in their house. We didn't, because simplicity, right, being present. People have smartphones. You'd be surprised. There is access to technology. People do have their own computers. It's pretty pretty standard in terms of like the access to technology. I think maybe the level of the population that doesn't have access is greater
Than those that do.
than those that do, or in comparison to the states. You know what I mean? But that technology is still available there. Like you still see people with, I mean, iPhones are more rare there, but smartphones are there. You know, data, Wi-Fi, that kind of thing.
So when you come back here, because you just came back, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
came back about a week and a half ago.
Is it a culture shock for you?
Oh yeah. I'm still honeymooning. It's called. There's a certain.
I mean, the pink cloud.
Yeah, it's not. You know, I'm enjoying still. Hasn't quite hit the floor yet, but I'm sort of taking steps to try and integrate the two lives. That's why I came back.
Right.
I need to integrate them before I go to the next big thing. So like I'm not using social media. I still take bucket showers. Try not to use hot water. Stay off my phone. Try and take the parts of the life that I valued and live
Carry
those here.
through.
Right.
Not just leave it back.
Correct.
I'm sorry. You might want to ask something. I just find you fascinating.
No, it is
I
pretty
have to tell
fascinating.
you. That's why I just keep talking to you. I could talk to you all day about this
Yeah, so
stuff.
it's hard not to become part of this, what's happening here, would you say?
I think it is, in some ways, yes. In some ways, it's easy to get sucked in because that's what you're being told is right all the time. You know, look this way, dress this way, do this, do that. That's what is constantly being told. So I actually had a conversation with one of my community mates about this, is that we now that we're back have to create our own culture for ourselves by listening to podcasts that support our values and music that support our values, and because otherwise you're being told constantly every day that you're wrong, that what
Right.
you believe is wrong,
Right.
which is quite difficult to live in.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but it in terms of the family, like, you know, because it was hard when you weren't here, and it was like somebody, the guest that was here before said how that must have been hard. You must have been so nervous, and I said, really, I wasn't. I really couldn't think about him that much because he was so far away that I could, if I thought about him,
Right.
I would go crazy, you know?
Right.
So I just didn't.
Right.
And even up until about 3 weeks before you came home, I kind of started to think about you coming home, and I couldn't really go there because it was too stressful because anything could happen.
That's right.
And so sometimes you've got to let go, let, you know, whatever happens, that you have no control here. You know, so that's that for anybody that might be listening that it has a child that is doing this service, because it's become very popular with this age group to go the Peace Corps,
Right.
the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. That's another one that he was accepted into. You have to compete for these places.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. You have to
Yeah,
compete.
it's pretty competitive. It's not cutthroat in the same way. It's more based on your values.
Got it.
Are you aligned with the values? Because that's what's going to sustain you when it all hits the fan, which it will.
So I know it might be a little too soon. So where do you see yourself in your life going with everything that you've learned, everything you're incorporating now for you? What do you see yourself doing with it?
I was a teacher, right? It more accurately was a teacher / social worker, given the demographic I was working with. So I have been leaning more towards social work, maybe counselor. So that in terms of like employment. In terms of other things, I don't know. I'm very into Buddhism, and I take spiritual path very seriously. So I don't know what that means. You know, I haven't figured it all out.
Okay, I know.
But yeah, I'll discern along the way.
I see you doing something with social justice.
Yeah.
So somehow righting some of the wrongs that are out there in a way. I don't know what. That's what I get.
Yeah, I think
Something social justice.
yeah, creating a more peaceful world, more equitable world, and then also, and this is I think big, is that embodying that, because you can have a lot of social activists who fight for equality or whatever, but they themselves might be jerks to their roommates. It's
Right.
like, well, that's not
Right. So
Yeah.
live it.
right.
So then who would your hero be? Taking that, what you just said, who would one of your heroes be? What couple of
Oh, MLK for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, MLK is, first of all, I'm a writer. I mean, in that I love to write and have a good voice. MLK was brilliant writer, brilliant speaker, unbelievable strategist, and also lived his values.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's fascinating. I could talk to him for hours.
Oh, you could.
You did good, Mama Sita.
Thank you.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
So he actually is going on to do some volunteer work at Omega in, do you know where that is?
Upstate New York, where they have all those different classes on
Yes, yeah.
healing, self-healing, acknowledgement, enlightenment, going towards, self-actualization.
Right. He's going there in a couple of weeks. He's
He
going
might
to
have a
spend.
Bronx accent, but
He's going to spend 6 weeks there.
good for you. That's
So
nice.
that'll help, move him along. And
Yeah, it's quite a jackpot, actually. I volunteer there to do. I'm going to work at a cafe, and you can work at a number of different things. And I get to use the facilities. There's a garden, there's a lake, mindfulness center, and use all these facilities in my downtime.
Yeah, I
Can you
think
go
we
to
should
class?
do that.
I think we should too.
I definitely think
We have a lot on our agenda.
We can do 6 weeks.
I could do
or we can
6
do a
weeks.
month.
Could do
okay?
a month.
All right.
Could do a month. And we could live in a tent. Do you have a
Yeah,
bed?
you can live in a tent.
Because you're living in a tent, she said. No?
Yes,
Tent?
correct, a tent. I'm going to
Yep.
sleep
We
in
could live
bed.
in a tent as long as it's not
Okay.
winter.
All right.
Yeah, no problem.
So
We should go. And can you take classes? That's what I went to ask you in Omega.
As a volunteer?
Yeah,
I wonder. You could probably talk to them. They seem flexible, but
gotta go.
and
we
actually,
really have to go.
We do.
there's a lot of retirees there too. They say
Volunteering.
that volunteering.
Gotta
They're
open it up.
college students, retirees, people in transition like myself. So you probably find your
Dylan,
niche.
you have to come back just to keep us updated on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're
That'd be
amazing.
great.
You really are. You're amazing.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
Dylan.
you for having me.
We really enjoyed having you on the show and
really
hearing
did.
about your expeditions
Right.
and your life story.
Journey.
Your journey. Your journey.